So over the past week, I actually had a busy week. I released an update to my book, ChatGPT to Double Your Business in 90 Days. And this was a huge update. One, because I hadn't released an update since February of this year. We had just been accumulating all of these notes. So this was a 30-page update all throughout the book and got into deep research and O3 models and things like that, and all of these massive hacks that we've been using over the past 6 months or so. And then I sent it to the publisher, got brand new copies in the mail, and guess what? The next day, ChatGPT-5 drops. So now I have to do another update because ChatGPT-5 is obviously big news. It's been highly anticipated for a couple of years now. So I want to talk on this episode about ChatGPT-5 because I have been in it day and night for the past several days, and would love to know if you've had a chance to play around with it. Would love to know what you think about it. But I do want to share with our listeners how we're using ChatGPT-5. Is it a game changer? Is it just an incremental upgrade? What should you be using it for? What's great about it and what sucks about it? Welcome to King Moves. In chess, the king moves one step at a time, but that single move can change everything. Each week, we explore mindset shifts and simple actions that could lead to the next breakthrough in your business and life. I'm your co-host, Ethan King, from Atlanta, Georgia, USA. Entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and best-selling author of Wealth Beyond Money.
And I'm your co-host, Justin King, no relation to Ethan, from Cape Town, South Africa, entrepreneur, speaker, and business growth strategist. Our journey crosses continents and cultures as we think out loud, challenge assumptions, and uncover the small moves that create big momentum. Welcome to King Moves. Let's start the conversation.
So before I jump in, have you had a chance to toy around with it yet?
I have not. Ethan, you are my Mr. Miyagi when it comes to ChatGPT. So why would I take my time to play around with it when I can just come straight to the source of all the knowledge, which is you? So you can enlighten me on what I'm missing out in so far.
All right, Daniel's son. All right. Well, first things first. I will say that the biggest leap I've seen right out of the box is that ChatGPT-5 is so fast. I mean, it is lightning fast, faster than typing. I mean, it's almost at the speed of thought, and the quality is still there. So you're not losing quality with the speed. Whereas in previous versions where you could select your version, if you chose ChatGPT 4.0 for something to get, depending on what you're doing, ChatGPT 4.0 is good at like speaking, writing, and things like that. But if you wanted some deeper research and you chose like one of the reasoning models like O3, then obviously it thought for a longer time. Well, ChatGPT 5 is fast no matter which one you're doing. Now, you can tell it to think even longer by going into the thinking mode and the deep research. And if you have ChatGPT-5 Pro plus deep research, is going to think even longer and do deeper research. But it is still way, way, way faster than any of the previous models. So you'll get more done in less time. It also has a bigger context window. Now, I haven't pushed this to its limit yet. So meaning context window, meaning you can put more into a prompt. You can have a much, much longer prompt, a longer chain of thought, and it will handle it without, just going crazy and hallucinating. So it's supposed to have fewer hallucinations. It'll tell you when it can't answer something, and it stops making things up as much. But that doesn't mean that they've gone away. According to OpenAI, they just have 45% fewer hallucinations than before.
So is it actually called hallucinations? Is that a term that is used for that which is created or returned from a prompt into ChatGPT or Claude or something like that? Is that the correct term?
It's become the adopted term, just kind of all over. So much that OpenAI even uses the term now.
Where does it come from? Where does it lose track like that? Because I know I'm derailing your update right now, but even with my, I'm going to call it relatively rudimentary use of ChatGPT, it suddenly, you've got such a nice structure going where I'm using it for reporting, let's say, after client interactions, and the reporting is really well structured and it's consistent, and then all of a sudden from nowhere, it just loses the plot completely.
Well, a couple of things can lead to hallucinations. And this is from my experience because I'm not an AI developer, so I don't know exactly. And what's interesting, even they don't know exactly what causes them. But here are two things. It has to do with context. So if ChatGPT, if you don't give it enough context, then it will just make up things based on what it thinks the logical context is to fill in the blank. So, for example, if you're telling a story about coaching a business client who happens to be a marketing agency, but you leave out certain details, then it will look in the past, well, what have other marketing agencies dealt with? And it'll just inject into your story about Susie in Johannesburg who's dealing with this problem.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, that never happened. But maybe it happened for somebody else. And ChatGPT is logically kind of connecting the dots because it's really just a language calculator. At this point, is awesome as AI is, it is essentially just like a glorified predictive search. You know how
Yeah.
you go to Google when you start typing? It's still pretty much that. It's just a language calculator. It just gets better and better and faster at synthesizing context. So another reason that hallucinations happen is if you have a really, really long chat and then it'll start forgetting stuff that was at the beginning of the chat because it ran out of like the context window tokens. So that's another advancement with ChatGPT-5 is that it can remember more. It has a bigger context window.
That I think answers my question. That's interesting.
You have some really long chats where things go
Yeah,
wonky.
exactly. And it is. It's towards the end of those, or they get too long and then it loses that context from the beginning of the chat. That makes sense.
So what I
Yeah.
try to do to combat that is put as much context as I can into other places, like into my custom instructions or into the instructions and knowledge base for a custom GPT, so that I'm not having to use up a whole bunch of context for each chat. Because the longer it gets, then the faster it's going to start forgetting. But that
Got you.
will be a thing of the past soon enough. This is already a massive improvement to that. Maybe we won't have that problem anymore. Let me know if you still have it after dealing with those long chats in version 5.
Yeah, thank you. Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I derailed you. I derailed you.
So let's see. I try to give this from an angle of what are practical business use cases because there's a ton of updates. And it's as a side note, we all kind of thought if you were in the AI world and community, people thought ChatGPT-5 was going to be AGI, artificial general intelligence. Some people thought it was going to it's going to be this revolutionary thing that changes the world where now robots are smarter than us. You know, it wasn't that. It almost reminded me of Y2K. You remember like when it was about to be 2000 and everybody thought the whole world was going to change? No, it's pretty much incremental unless you're using it for some superpower moves like programming, like coding apps, things like that. ChatGPT 5 is way better at helping you code in things like Cursor and Replit, and it can even do a lot within itself, what they're calling one shot. If you write the right prompt, you can develop an entire website and an entire game that functions really well just within ChatGPT in one prompt, which is an amazing leap forward. Now, I don't know many small business owners who are doing this yet, but the prediction is that this vibe coding is what people call it, will become more mainstream. And everyday people will start coding more applications and more websites. So it'd be interesting to see how that affects the market for computer programmers. Now, are you doing any of that?
I'm not doing any vibe coding, but it does make me wonder how I got to choose my words carefully here and figure out how to actually word it. But how stable will that kind of coding be and that kind of building be? And if the majority of people start doing that, is that a stable infrastructure to have in the World Wide Web, or is that potentially leading to an unstable infrastructure, or is that coding just as good as high quality coders would have been able to do it?
Yeah, so that my argument is that if you don't know what you're doing, you can get pretty far with vibe coding. But when something goes wrong, you won't know how to fix it. So it's almost like building a car. Like if they made the tools accessible to everyone, let's say tools were democratized and now anyone can go build a car. Well, you can get pretty far, but what if you're in the middle of a trip and your car breaks down or a wheel falls off? Well, now you don't know how to fix it. And you can ask AI to debug it. You can ask ChatGPT to debug things. Maybe you could throw it over into Claude and ask it to look at the code. And that's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on it if you don't really understand coding. So that's where I see the drawback is for everyday people, but that's an advantage for people who really are computer programmers. I think we're going to see more and more demand for, hey, fix my thing that I tried to build on my own.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's interesting. That's a good point.
Yeah. But the overall, I mean, it's a great update. A lot of the power players were upset because OpenAI removed all of the other models, and now there's only ChatGPT-5 as of today. And we're recording this on August 11th, 2025. They've said that they may put back the old models. So if you really want to get to 4.1, oh 03, oh 03 mini, all of that stuff, maybe you will be able to get back to it. But right now, as of today, it got rid of everything else. And you have ChatGPT-5. You can choose two different versions. You can choose thinking mode, or if you have Pro, you can choose ChatGPT-5 Pro, which is research grade intelligence. So one thing, here's a power move that I like to use it for. With the Pro version, and I'm paying the $200 a month version, because I really like the research grade intelligence. So let's say you're in sales. And let's say you want to go after, like, land a big client, Justin, and you have a call coming up with the decision maker. It's always better to be prepared going into a call. You know that. So you can put this decision maker, put his name into your research, go to Pro mode, and say, hey, do deep research on so-and-so, Jim Smith at this company, and tell me everything about his personality type, how he likes to be communicated to, things that are going on in his personal life, things that are going on in business, milestones he's achieved. And it will give you this report on Jim Smith, but also tell it why you want the report. What's the angle? Oh, I want to offer enterprise level coaching to his entire staff of 500. Tell me what his pain points are and how to communicate with Jim so that I do it in the most effective way. And then allow it to do deep research, which it might take 30 minutes of thinking while it goes out on the web and really searches everything and analyzes it. And it will give you a report on someone's speaking style. It'll assume their personality type from how they talk. I mean, it can give you some in-depth research to help you prepare for a call, a presentation, a keynote speech, so you understand the audience better and their needs. So I really leverage deep research for that type of thing when it comes to preparation.
And obviously that report is going to be based on, or the effectiveness of it will be based on their footprint, their online footprint.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, yes, it's hallucinating as far as what it's bringing back.
Yes, so, great. Yeah, if this person doesn't have a big online footprint, two things can happen. One, either the report will be very small, or what happened to me once is it went and grabbed information from the wrong person to fill in the gaps. So somebody else with the same name. But I did notice that. So that's a great point. That will only work on someone who has a decent amount. Now, it doesn't need a ton, but anyone who's put out who's had articles written about their company and their CEO, or they put out LinkedIn articles, stuff on social media, anyone who has a decent amount of content online, ChatGPT can infer a lot and tell a lot about a person from that.
I think it's a great use case. I mean, there are endless use cases. There really are.
It really are.
$200 per month. That's the difference between us sitting on the other side of the world. That's a lot of rams. That's a lot of rams every month.
Now, to be fair, the average person won't need to do the $200 a month version. I'm out here teaching it. I'm a power user, and I also don't keep the $200 a month version year round. I keep it for a few months when I'm doing some updating materials or doing a lot of deep research and thinking, but I will actually switch back to the Plus version, which is $20 a month, especially when my speaking tour kicks off next week, or actually this week. I'm going to dial it back to the Plus version because I want to understand what the audience is dealing with. The average audience is only going to be using that version. So I don't want to be up there using the Lamborghini when everybody else has the Honda,
Yeah. Amazing. And lastly, so I'm curious about the book update. So you said it's roughly 30 pages. I know this is going off topic slightly, but how do you go about your book update? Is it going through page by page and tweaking all the content, or is it just inserting a new chapter, or what's that process like?
Yeah, so I go throughout the book. So what I do is as updates come out to AI, I keep a running list of things that I'm actually using in my business or in my clients' businesses. And then I'll insert it into the book wherever it makes the most sense. And instead of me flipping through the pages, because right now it's about 290 pages. So instead of me flipping through the book and trying to figure out where to insert it, I have ChatGPT analyze my book manuscript and say, hey, I want to do an update about this feature. For example, I did a whole new chapter dedicated to building AI agents, which agents are all, fully autonomous, where ChatGPT can carry out actions for you, which is another major update. Well, instead of me flipping through the book, I just asked ChatGPT, where are the best places in the book for me to mention this update? And then I'll go there and I'll go in depth with the step-by-step process. So it makes it a lot easier. But yeah, workflow automation, I do want to talk about that. That's a major thing. If you go to agent mode in ChatGPT, you can have it do things like you can connect it to your Gmail, to your Google Drive, to your Dropbox. It can go and create folders for you. It can read your inbox and draft replies. It can schedule meetings. It can update your CRM. Anything you can tell a human being to do that requires just a web browser to do it, ChatGPT can do it for you now. Like, it opens its own little web browser and actually starts doing the things for you. And it will stop if it needs you to log into a website or to put in payment information. But it's super powerful. And of course, that's where we're going is full agentic AI, which means you have a digital employee now who can actually do things on your behalf. And you can have multiple tabs running where you have processes running in the background, and GPT is actually doing things on your behalf. So that's the power move right there, really, is agent mode, which has been super enhanced with version 5.
What do you think is a good agent to start with for the average user?
For the average user, well, play around with it, but think of any rudimentary task that you have that's in your SOPs that someone does every single day, like data entry, for example. Anything that can be done in a web browser that you have a step-by-step repeatable process that you're already doing. And we all have them. It might be replying to emails. I think one of the first things I used Agent for was actual data entry. Like, I needed to get some contacts and email addresses off of one system and move them into another system. And these two systems were closed and they don't have a way to talk to each other. Like, I couldn't do it with a Zap or anything like that. So I just had ChatGPT. Like, what I would have done as a human is either me or my assistant would go and copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. Sometimes you have those legacy systems where that's all you can do. Well, I just told ChatGPT to do that. Go and copy and paste every contact from here and put it into this spreadsheet. And it just sat there and did it. And it might have taken it a couple of hours, but no human was doing it, right? So I didn't have to pay anyone extra to do that. So that's kind of right now where it is. The simpler, the better. It is getting better at handling complex tasks, but the more complex it is, the higher the chances are it'll get hung up on something.
Yeah, I do like that. I definitely need to figure out as you say, that low-hanging fruit. What are those repetitive tasks that we could get an agent to use? So, in closing, I've got one more thing I want to ask you. So I came up with what I called the four AI quadrant model. And this, for me, it's a lot of conversations I have with clients. It's just people are feeling overwhelmed about where to start using AI. So my whole thought process was, how do we reduce some of that overwhelm and give them somewhat of a framework to use when going through their business and looking how to implement it? So you can critique me on whether you think this is a good starting point. You're also allowed to say whether it's pretty shit, Ethan. You the expert here. So the 4x1, so the first type of AI is artificial intelligence. So that's what we've been referring to. So that's it. But then when you go through your business, and the first thing that you look for is authentic intelligence. So where currently in my business is our human people brain power? Where is that still required? And then what you do there is you take artificial intelligence and you use that to enhance your authentic intelligence. Authentic intelligence, how do I use AI to enhance it? So that's step number one. Go through your business. Where's authentic intelligence? How do I enhance that with artificial intelligence? Step number two is to go throughout your business and look for places where you're using archaic intelligence. So where am I using outdated methods or very clumsy? It's very labor intensive. And that's all archaic intelligence. So now, how do we take AI? How do we use AI to replace archaic intelligence in our business? And then lastly, the last type of AI is what I'm calling acceptable intelligence. So where are we using things in our business currently that are actually okay? The processes are not terrible. They're not costing us anything currently. And what we need to do there is leave them as they are for now, because guaranteed that we've got to come back around to those, and they're possibly going to fall into the archaic intelligence quadrant at some stage. So that's my kind of thought process around how do we reduce some overwhelm. It's look for authentic intelligence, use AI to enhance it, look for archaic intelligence, use AI to replace it, and look for acceptable intelligence and leave it as is for now and come back around and work through it. So what do you think?
I think it's a good framework. Let me sit on it for a little while and see if there's anything missing there. But I think you covered it all just right off the surface. But let me give it a little bit more deeper thought. See, just like AI, sometimes I need longer time to think deeply about something.
Just don't come back hallucinating and spreading a whole bunch of rubbish, please.
I love it. But yeah, I think that's a great framework to definitely start with. I mean, yeah, a lot of us have archaic systems that we're dealing with, legacy systems like I was just talking about. But I really, what jumps out at me right now is that acceptable quadrant. Because sometimes we just have to accept like, hey, maybe this just isn't the time to try to automate this particular process yet, or try to apply AI to this thing right now. If it's not broke, don't try to fix it. Just let some things, it's okay to let run, because a year from now there may be a better solution where the timing is better to now implement AI. Sometimes you can be ahead of your time. I always use the example of Webvan. I don't know if you all had this in Africa. Okay, so in I think it was around the year 2000, very early years of the internet, during like the .com boom, there was this company called Webvan, and you could order groceries through the internet. You go on a website and you order groceries, and they had all these vans all around the U.S. called Webvan, and they would bring the groceries to your door. Well, this was during a time where now that sounds normal, right? I mean, we order through Instacart all the time. I can't remember the last time I've been to a grocery store because it's 2025. But 25 years ago, a lot of people were still hesitant about putting their credit card information into the World Wide Web. So Webvan went out of business. They were just too early. And now their technology is widely adopted. You have lots of resources where you can do the same thing, and the infrastructure is there. Now we have mobile phones, but they were just way ahead of their time. So even if you look inside of your business, there may be some things where it's just too early to implement, and you got to be okay. So out of your quadrant, like that part really, really resonated with me, that it's acceptable to just leave this as is for right now.
So with that in mind, what is the king move that we're going to wrap this one up with?
Well, obviously for me, the king move is go get your copy of ChatGPT to double your business in 90 days if you don't have it already. If you do already have it, if you bought it through my website, ethanking.com, then you already got the update in your inbox. It comes automatically to you every time we update the book. You get an email from my website that says, hey, here's the latest version. If you didn't get it through my website, if you get it on Amazon or somewhere else, just flip open on page 4 of the book or somewhere in the beginning, there's a QR code where you can scan that QR code to get updates sent to you. So if you already have it, you don't need to buy it again. It is the gift that keeps on giving. I give you free updates on the book for life.
That's it. Let's end it there. I think that is a great king move. And if nobody has the book, if you haven't got the book yet, go and get it.
That's a wrap for today's episode of King Moves. Remember, in chess, like in business, one right move can change everything. Take today's action step, make your move, and build momentum.
If you found value in today's episode, share it with someone who's ready for their next breakthrough, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss our weekly conversations. Until next time.